So this is a true real life story of how I lost $20,000 and almost lost my life in a heartbeat, just like that. The point of the video is to share with you some of the life lessons that I learned from that event, and I can actually show you exactly what happened, and I'm going to show you right now. So just a bit of a warning, the following footage is fairly high impact, not for the faint of heart. So what exactly just happened? How did we get there? We need to rewind back to 2011 when that actual incident took place. And it was part of a club championship that I used to do back then. Once a month, once every few months, we take our cars to the track and we would essentially do like a time trial, race against the clock kind of thing. But it would be part of a championship that spread out over the whole year. And the year before that, in 2010, that was my first season doing that club championship. And in my first season in 2010, I'd actually won the club championship. So every race, every event that I went to, I was always at the top or very close to the top. And quite naturally, this breeds an air of confidence about you. And this is where the first lesson that I've got to share with you comes from. See, when we're at the top of our game with whatever it is that we're doing, it could be a career, could be business, relationships, it doesn't matter. If we are winning and we've got facts to back up why we're winning, we know why we're winning, it's natural that we would have an air of confidence about us. And there's nothing wrong with having confidence about what you're doing. But the reality is that sometimes we're just naturally very good at something, right? We have a God-given natural ability and a talent, right? And when we enter into something, we might do something for the first time and we might win. We might be very good at it. We have that confidence that will grow from that natural ability that we have. But on the other side of the coin, the confidence can come from having experience and exposure over a long period of time, building up the knowledge of what it is that you're doing. And therefore, that's where the experienced level of confidence comes from. You see, when we're on this side and we're talking about a natural talent that we have, without the experience, there will come a point where your natural talent runs out, as you can see. So when our natural talent runs out and we don't have the experience and knowledge to take over and drive us forward, we can fall short and things might not necessarily go our way anymore. We might not win anymore. We might, lose something. We might not be the best at what we do because we don't have the experience to continue driving us forward. So there's nothing wrong with having confidence in our lives. I think it's a very important thing to have when you're approaching whatever it is that you're doing. But we need to also understand and respect the boundaries. And this is where the important lesson comes from, is I always encourage every single one of you guys to push the boundaries, find where the limit is with whatever it is that you're doing. And there might be times where we need to step over the limit. We need to step over that boundary because we just have to do that. But you need to understand the risks that we take when we step over the boundary and know that it might not go the way in which we intend it to. It might backfire. It might cause us more harm than good. So the lesson, and the number one lesson here is we need to have confidence with what we're doing, but we need to understand where that confidence is coming from. Is it coming from experience or is it coming from a place of you just being very good at what you're doing? Know where it's coming from. Always push the boundaries, push the limits. I have done this my whole life and I will continue to do that. But understand where the limits are and respect those limits. And know that by going over them and by pushing the boundaries, you're going to expose yourself to some risk and it might backfire and it could end up hurting you. As you can quite tell, in that instant, in that split second, it took seconds for that all to go very, very wrong. And I lost everything that I loved at that point. As a 21-year-old kid, I loved the car that I had. I loved going to the track because it wasn't just about going around in circles. For me, it was about the freedom of being out on the track, almost unchained, no limits, no restrictions. I could go as fast as I really wanted to. And I loved that feeling of the adrenaline rush, being out there free to do whatever it is that I felt like doing at that point in time, going fast and enjoying it. I lost all of that. And here's where the second lesson comes into play, because I lost all the things that I loved so much, and I also had the fear of that incident. I mean, you saw the footage. I still live this to this day, and I get sweaty when I look at that footage because I can feel the impact on my body rolling around in that car like a rag doll. I can still feel that to this day. And quite obviously, there's the physical impacts, which I still carry to this day. But importantly, the mental impacts of that, I didn't realize until years afterwards. Because after that event, after that incident, I wanted to get back out there. I wanted to face that fear, the concrete wall that I hit at 180 kilometers an hour. I wanted to face that again. And not to make myself sound out like a hero, that's definitely not the case. But because I let my ego drive me to make that decision, I then hurt other parts of my life. You see, because what I did was, at that point, I'd lost that car, was a complete write-off. I had a loan attached to that car, and obviously being out on track, there's no insurance. Everything was just gone. The car got melted down into scrap metal. There was nothing left of it, unsalvageable. So what did I do? I went and got another loan to get an even better car, an even faster car. And I came back the next year and I did the same thing again. I didn't crash, but I won the club championship again. And whilst I think that is a great thing to do, to conquer your fears, to kind of look your fear in the face and get back on the horse, I let my ego drive that decision, and it hurt me financially for many, many years after that, paying down all the debts that I have. It's almost like, to use the analogy of biting your nose to spite your face. But at that point in time, I was using my ego to drive those decisions. And importantly, in life, we need to understand that when we get knocked down, it's important to get back up again. Without a doubt, I'll always encourage you, when life deals you a bad hand, to get back up, because what else are you going to do? But importantly, the lesson here is get back up and pause. Don't make any immediate decision, right? Look at the bigger picture. And to use another analogy, when you get back up, it's like standing in front of an elephant, right next to the elephant. You don't see the elephant until you take a step back and you look at the bigger picture, and you can see all of the elephant. And this is the same thing in relation to the things that are going to happen to us throughout our lives. Granted, this is a very extreme example, but it could be in business. You could hurt yourself financially. It could be in relationships. You could end up hurting yourself emotionally. But the important thing here, and the lesson that I want to share with you, is rather than just reacting to any situation, pause before you react. Think about it. Look at the bigger picture. Look at the entire elephant, and then make a decision. Because when we react instantly, we're using emotion to drive the decisions that we make in that moment. Whereas if we can control our emotions, we can pause and think about the situation, think about the end goal, think about all of the repercussions of the decisions that you're thinking about making. You can then get better outcomes for yourself in your life. And again, it doesn't matter if it's business, career, relationships. Always pause before you make a decision. When you get hit with something, just stop and think about it first, right? Maybe if you have to walk away from the situation, walk away, because you will get a better outcome for yourself. So to recap, the lessons that I wanted to share with you guys is, number one, confidence, and understanding where your confidence is coming from. Respecting the boundaries, and obviously knowing where those boundaries are. Sometimes we might need to overstep it just a little bit, but understand the risks that you do when you overstep those boundaries. And then lesson number two is, don't let your ego drive the decisions that you make in your life, because quite often it might feel good in that moment to let your ego have a little dig and a jab at whatever it is, but it's going to hurt you later on down the line. So stop, pause before you react, and control your emotions. Be a master of your emotions. So that's the lessons that I wanted to share with you guys. Thanks for watching.